Greetings, exalted ones.
How's it going, guys? Darthmore516 here. Welcome back to another gameplay breakdown video. This time it's going to be Luke Skywalker. We are playing on Bastion for the match. This is just for me to use for my intro. It is a relatively long match, so once we get into it, I'm not going to waste any time breaking down my thought processes and strategies in the game. So I hope the gameplay helps you, and I hope you guys really get something out of it. Especially, I know a lot of people struggle with Luke, so I hope you guys enjoy it. It's just about to roll over shortly once I kill Bobby here. There we go. Alright, let's enjoy it, guys. Okay, the match has started. I've got Wazza with me, and I've got two teammates that I'm not in a group with, but they're grouped up, so it's a pretty good team. And that's how Luke thrives, is when he has a really good team around him. And as I go through my gameplay, you'll see why I think that. So, as you see, we've got a pretty good team here. And obviously the usual emotes at the start. Obviously, it's up to you though whether you do this, but sometimes the health on kill card can help when using Luke in this game mode, especially if you're really good at surviving. But I don't use it because, for me personally, please don't do this if you're not confident with Luke. For me, having less health to work with while playing actually helps me. So if I'm on like 200 or 300 health and I can't gain health back until I'm the target, I actually thrive on that. So that's just me. That's something I want to mention as I go forward, because that's something you'll see me with, have less health but still do fine. As you see, I didn't quite anticipate Hollow's pull, and once you're on the ground you can't block Maul's saber throw, so chokehold, so thankfully I was able to survive fine. Also, Palpatine was a threat here, so I did a quick rush and pushed him instantly, because most of the time they don't expect you to push that quick when you do a rush forward. Because I press it as soon as my rush is done. People don't expect it because it puts them off guard, and it's really quick. So that's one thing I try and do, is a rush and then a push forward sometimes. You'll see that a few times during the clip. Obviously, as I'm being aware out here, I'm trying to be careful that Kylo and Maul don't, because you don't know when their abilities are back, so I'll try and be a bit careful when I'm out here. And Palpatine comes again, so as soon as I get a chance I push him off, because he'll be the biggest threat to me. Because if I try and fight both of them, he can just keep zapping me with lightning from the distance, so I took him out straight away. I'm trying to dance around Vader as much as possible here, because he's more of a tank. So I'll try and do the same with Kylo here, because he usually blocks a bit, so I try and get behind him, but he keeps dashing backwards, because he knows what I'm trying to do, but I catch him there. Because they can't dodge both ways, so if he can block later shots, I just hit him from behind, and it forces him to make a change. And that's something I mentioned in the Boba guide that I've done already, or gameplay breakthrough. So I pushed Palpatine away, and I saw Leia use the flash grenade, so I figured someone was here. I went to rush Maul. Again, I tried to do the same thing, get one of us to go behind him, and it worked perfectly. I finished him off with a rush there. That's a common thing you notice me to do, is get behind him, whether you're a blaster or a lightsaber. So that's something good to do. Because basically lightsaber combat at the moment, especially, it's basically if you run out of stamina, it's like whoever runs out of stamina first, pretty much, and it's kind of not fun just to stand there and swing spam at each other. Especially since Luke doesn't have the best damage output, and you want to be as agile as possible. And I didn't see Maul there, so he caught me off guard, so that's a mistake made. So obviously, as I said before, you got to be aware of them using their chokeholds and that stuff like that. That's the only time I die in this video, actually, so that's kind of why I wanted to show this clip off to you guys. So obviously, me rushing, I want to try and get there as quick as possible. So I usually use 1 or 2 rushes and try and, before I get in there, so they're all charged up again. Yes, obviously, as I said, guys, especially maps with ledges, you want to be careful, because most people, any chance they get, they'll try and throw them off the edge. So somehow I managed to do a repulse in the air like that, which was kind of cool. As you see, I'll try and get behind Vader. He was out of stamina, so by the look of it, so I'll kind of just finish him off. And this is where Wazza and I were very careful, because they're probably waiting to pull or throw us off the edge, so that's why we try and wait for them to do it. But they're smart enough to know not to do it while blocking, so I waited for Leia to start shooting before I slowly come forward, but they'll still wait for it. Yeah, Kylo's got a pull there, so that's one out of the way. That's what they're doing a lot when they're out here, they'll block and then waiting to use it. But then I heard Palpatine and Vader in the background, so I just started going for them. Try and help him kill Palpatine first, because he's the biggest threat. I don't think he died, or someone killed him, so I figured I'd defend Wazza as best I can. I figured this would be a long round if their target's going to block a lot outside, so figured I'd try my best to keep Wazza alive. And you got a nice kill on Vader there. So since I figured he started blocking a bit, I thought I'd take a quick chance and rush forward at him. And this is where I do that quick rush push move. There you go. So that's like the third time this match already. I've already pushed him off the edge. Two of them doing that exact move. They don't expect it. It puts them off guard. So even when you rush past them and do it, and like turn back around and do it, they don't expect it. Like it really catches them off guard. That's one thing you want to do with Luke. Be as agile as you can. Put him off guard with your ability combos. And obviously, as you saw there, get behind them as much as you can. There's no point in me swing spamming because they can just block for all eternity until they run out of stamina. For me, that's not fun. Like, especially if your target's in trouble and you need to kill them quickly, for instance, then there's no point in me, you know, just swing spamming where I can try and get behind them and actually do the damage. So one thing I try and do a lot in this match is actually float around between who I defend. So I figured Anakin was with Wazza for a bit, so I stayed behind, try and take out Vader, and I saw Leia here as well, so I tried doing the same thing, getting behind, so he has to try and block two ways. Which the only way for him to do that is dash back behind me. And that's why I keep trying to follow him backwards. I tried pushing Palpatine, but he got pulled. So yeah, like I was so persistent, as you can see, like I just kept making Vader dash backwards, so I just kept following him. And as he's dashing backwards, it's harder for him to block. Unfortunately, Wazza died, so as soon as I saw him on my own, I didn't get there in time, but I went to avenge him straight away. Took out Kylo. You'd notice more I try and fight more when he's inside, because he can't push me, so I'd rather him use his choke hold inside. But thankfully Anakin cut him off, so Rao was a corral him. And he got a nice few shots on him. So he was trying to dash, but he couldn't block everything. So I made sure Leia was safe so they could finish off the target. And I assumed Vader would use the choke, so I dashed behind him straight away. Obviously remember guys, don't use your force powers while he's choking, for example, because they don't get pushed anymore. Like such as him doing that, Maul using his choke hold, Kylo using his pull, and Grievous is like unrelenting advance. Don't use your force powers when they're doing those type of things, because you know they're not going to get pushed anymore. So as you saw there, I was pretty aggressive on Palpatine, trying to corral him before he gets outside, because then we can just cut him off, which we're able to do that just well. So obviously we're doing the same thing here, trying to block, wait for them to waste their pulls and that. Thankfully Kylo was more tempting to do it. And I saw Palpatine was a threat, so I figured my team would be smart enough to defend him, so I just went 1v1 with Palpatine for a while. As you guys notice, I try and get close to him as quick as possible, but also blocking so I don't lose health. Because Palpatine thrives when you swing spam him, so you don't actually need to do that. So as you see, I'll block and try and dash against positions to catch up to him. And as you'll notice, if he's jumping up or dashing like back toward me, because a lot of them try and dash through you, so I just try and do dashes. Or I try and also as you see, I try and follow him. So that's why I don't swing more than once if I'm in a position like this. So I knew straight away he'd come back, so that's why after two swings I dashed backwards straight away. And I was trying to keep up with him. And I knew he'd dash, see I dashed backwards as he dashed forward, so I was able to get a rush in, take some damage off him. Got a repulse. I tried to do a push, but he just dodged it in time. But his Dark Aura helped me keep track of him here. And I knew he'd turn around and use these lightning, so I dash, block, then rush forward when I can, so I don't lose any health. So forcing him on the defensive, even though he's using his lightning. Especially with Luke, his health can regen back in a few seconds, so you really want to make the most of that. And thankfully, I was getting close to finishing off, but Vader chokes me, so I was forced to deal with him instead. I kind of wanted to try and find Palpatine again, because I wanted to finish him off, but I couldn't find him, so after a few seconds here, I'll go back outside. But as you guys see there, obviously, like, block and dash forward, as I was doing, and then get a rush in when you get closer to him, because they either dodge backwards, or they dodge forwards. So then, hopefully, by your rush animation, you can actually land it. Now, I think I went for Palpatine again, because again, even though he still had health, he's a big threat, because you can just zap people from the distance while they're fighting someone else. So I went after him again, but I lost him. So I went back out. Then I knew they were fighting the target, which was Maul, so I figured I'd cut him off, make sure no one flanked me, get a nice push, and he's done. I mean, it's probably a bit overkill, but you know, you might as well make sure the target dies, so. Kylo wastes his freeze, wait for him to waste his pull, and somehow maybe it doesn't happen for Kylos because I repulsed him there while he was doing it. And later on the clip you'll see that I push him while he does his pull, so maybe it doesn't work for Kylo, or maybe that's a bug, I'm not sure. But I figured they'd have enough fun dealing with Kylo as he comes back here, so I figured I'd defend Leia. And unlucky ricochet rebound for him, so he was able to go off the edge. So that's obviously one thing I try and do with Lucas. I try and defend blaster heroes as best you can, because obviously they struggle a bit when they're against saber heroes, because a lot of saber heroes think they'll be easy to beat, you know, because they're a blaster. So I was trying to keep Maul at bay for a bit, hopefully trying to bait him into attacking, but I kind of got bored because he was just sitting there blocking, so I went back to Leia to make sure she was fine. I knew he'd come back. It would only be a matter of time before him and Kylo came back, so I waited with Leia for a bit, checked, and I could see Maul coming there. So I get a rush, I get a push straight away, putting him off. Sadly, Leia died while I was gone, so Kylo must have snuck up and pulled her off the map or something. So that's a little unlucky there, but as I was trying to get behind Maul, but I think he knew what I was doing, so he just kept dashing. And I kind of got bored with him blocking, and knowing that if I made one little swing, he could push me off the map, so I kind of just was trying to get away from him and go inside. Hopefully he'd come and follow me, because I'd rather him fight in there, because that way I can actually dance around him a little bit easier. And I went to Anakin because I figured he was low health, and then I get ready for an offensive. But thankfully the pulls don't last very long. Let me take out. So usually what I try and do when Vader chokes is I try and hit them at least once or twice, so hopefully it stops them choking. So I don't know if it actually makes their animation stop, but I know it puts them off. As you can see, I was trying to dance around Vader, and as soon as Leia got into range, I just started trying to block a little more, but also get behind him, because he was trying to dance behind me, so he could block everything. I figured he'd run out of stamina, so I thought just swing a few hits, but Leia got the kill there. That's one thing we're all doing well with each other, even though the game looks pretty close right now. We'll try and defend each other as best we could. And Maul's back in Kylo's here, so I was trying to defend Leia. Killed him, but that chokehold finished off Leia, unfortunately. So, and Maul obviously was a bit more willing to fight here. See, I tried doing that combo again, but it didn't push him. So as soon as I landed, I dashed straight away because I knew he'd start swing spamming. So if you saw in the background there, like my health came back in a few seconds. So that's one thing you want to try and make use of with Luke, is actually keeping your max health up as much as possible, especially when outnumbered. Because your health can come back pretty quick in a few seconds. He doesn't have the biggest health pool, but it comes back. So as you see, I was blocking there, waiting for my health to come back up. So as far as it could. And then I go again. And I expected them to all to push me, so that's kind of why I didn't help Rey as much there. And Leia was dead, so I knew I was on my own out here. And there was 3 of them. There was 1 there. For some reason my push didn't work. I was waiting for the others to flank me. There's another one. And I knew Kylo was lurking around somewhere, so that push worked on Vader. Obviously didn't get him off the map, but it stalls them a bit. But thankfully they killed the target, which meant my team would be coming back, so I figured wait for at least 1 to come in and then do a little bit more dancing around them. Now that Anakin was here, I was able to help out a little more. Kill Maul. I figured I'd try and take a chance and get behind him. See that rush push combo again? I try and do those often as I can, because it usually works. Because the first thing you'll do, if you rush behind them, they'll try and come after you again. I was going to push Palpatine, but I saw my health went low, so I went up, let it come back for a minute. And then I come back, because Palpatine was out here. He dodged the push. But I feared I'd try and cut him off, because I feared he'd come back this way. He went down, and he comes back up. So thankfully we're able to... Thankfully I still stayed up. But I did just enough to keep him sort of trapped. And thankfully, if my team didn't attack him, then he probably could have stayed with her and killed me there. So I honestly thought I'd dash past him quick enough, but I didn't quite. So that was a mistake that was avoided, thankfully, thanks to my team. Thankfully Rey's insight's pretty handy on these type maps, especially if you're trying to defend your team, you know where they're coming from. So you really want to try and make use of that. Even though it's just Kylo, we all swarmed on him. And normally I don't swing spam, I nearly died because of that. But it kind of looked cool, all of us are rushing Kylo like that, but it nearly cost me. This is what I was talking about earlier, me having not much health, but I'm still surviving. Because like, even if you have this much health, you're not useless. As long as you're alive, you can do something. So you need to play to your strengths with Luke. Obviously, be as agile as you can, get behind him. See, like, because Vader was stuck there and I was behind him, he couldn't dodge all of us, which makes it easy to kill them without you taking damage. Because obviously that's one of the best things to do with Luke, is obviously do damage but also avoid damage as much as you can as well. And I was hoping Rey wouldn't attack because I wanted to push as soon as his animation finished, but it didn't quite work that way. But all we had to do was keep attacking Maul since Kylo died. So I tried to get behind him again, but thankfully my teammates finished him off. I'll do the same with Vader, try and get behind him. But then I saw my health, so I quickly healed because I knew my teammates would get him. And we're getting ready to go again. I knew Kylo would pull. Thankfully Leia just landed there. I don't know how she did, but we'll take it. So I think for most of it I'll try and figure out... I took a quick moment to analyse what's happening. Figured he'd be busy enough with Kylo, so I went over to Leia because Maul was out here. I don't know if he actually saw me or not, because that was a pretty well timed dash on his part. There we go, he wasted his chokehold. That's what I've been trying to get him to do the entire time, because then I can attack him more often knowing that he's wasted it. So thankfully those two came back, but because Palpatine was going to do his thing for a while, I figured they'd go, but I stayed with Leia. I didn't have much health anyway, so if I died I'd just come straight back. So I figured just stay with her as long as I could while they tried to attack the target. It'd be a while for them because Palpatine could just dash like away for a while. I was trying to get Maul to attack. I was trying to attack Maul more often. Thankfully, took the opening to push Kylo off. Yeah, I was trying to attack Maul there because he wasted his chokehold. That's mainly what that Maul was waiting for when he was out here, as you guys have noticed. So obviously that's one thing you want to try and do with when you're playing Luke as well, is figure out how the enemies like to attack you and then work around it. Adjust your combos and to work against them. Obviously you don't have to you change your playstyle too much, but obviously this little bit here is going to be a bit boring because Kylo's trying to bait us into I don't know what he's trying to bait us to do, but I knew exactly where he was. So I think we played a bit of cat and mouse here, just waiting for him to come out. Thankfully Leia's going to do an emote in a second, which forced him to come out because he didn't like being taunted. But yeah, obviously adjust your combos to counter any characters you verse, because some swing spam, some just sit down there and block. So obviously you want to adjust your combos and strategy to work with that. Obviously, as you can see when I've been fighting different saber heroes in this game. There he goes. Yeah, see, I don't know how that worked there. I shouldn't have been able to push him like that. And obviously, I didn't think Maul was there because I didn't hear him, so that's my second and last death for this round. The one times I die, Maul chokes me off. And that's exactly what he's been waiting for the entire time. Poor him, he wouldn't have got a kill for that, because for me it just said defeated. But thankfully I got a nice good spawn, so I was able to come back and defend. I don't know if Leia killed Maul in between, but I thought, that's alright. Just stay with her. I think they almost get the target in a second, but I think I hear Vader somewhere, so I was trying to keep an eye out where he was going to flank from. Obviously that's what you like to do with Luke, obviously attack when you can, but obviously what I like to try and do, as you see in my gameplays, I try and defend my heroes when you can by actually being attacking. Because as everyone says, the strongest defense is a swift and decisive offense. So that doesn't necessarily mean a quick one, it kind of means like a calculated offensive. Obviously for some reason I think Kylo jumps off here, so the game is about to end. But I was going to go defend Leia, but she died anyway, so... That's one thing I like to try and do with Luke, obviously defend my teammates when I can by attacking the other team, like when they're there, so we can both take them together. That's what I like to try and do. I like to be a little bit like a playmaker. Think of it like basketball terms. Obviously, dictate the terms and how the fight goes. That's what I like to try and do. And obviously, being aggressive when needed. So that is the gameplay there, guys. Hope you enjoy. Obviously, guys, that ending felt a little bit abrupt because I had to put in a clip just so I can continue talking. I just want to go over a few Luke points that I would have discussed in the video. So obviously, all I have to try and do is be a bit like a playmaker. So attack when necessary, and obviously be prepared to defend all your teammates. So obviously, if one's getting attacked in particular and they're outnumbered, I try and go to them, especially if they're a blaster hero because they're more vulnerable. And when I do that, I don't just swing spam. I try and get behind them, so the person tries to defend both ways, especially if they're a saber hero. Try and force them to attack. And obviously, you're going to see a pretty bad death in a second on the screen here, but sometimes like you got to be calculated when you're aggressive. You can't just charge in all the time. And I didn't think Boss could put his mines there. So obviously, you got to be careful. Like when you attack, don't just go in randomly. Obviously, what you'd want to do is obviously know if they've used their abilities. Try and bait some of them into using their abilities early, so then you can use yours when you want. Especially if there's ledges nearby, try and get them to waste their pulls or pushes, whatever they've got, or force chokes. Sadly, I didn't really verse any blaster heroes in that video, but obviously what you'd want to do is obviously let them roll and then hit them. One thing you can try and do as they're rolling, if you're not good at hitting them while they're rolling, try and dash as they're rolling, so dash through their roll, like Yoda's, like Luke and Yoda's rush in particular, you can do it that way. So then you're actually still hitting them. And one thing you want to try and do, as you saw my combo there, when they're on the ground, I like to do a swing and a rush because it gets 2 hits instantly. Or if you want to ragdoll them, if they're on the ground, they can't block force powers. So if you want to follow up with another force attack that you've got, don't be afraid to do that. Obviously, time your dashes with Luke. Obviously, you want to be as agile as possible, especially since he is one of the most agile in the game. So time your dashes, be as agile as you can. Put the 3 rush card on because that really helps you be agile and dance around your opponents. I think that pretty much covers what I've talked about. If I've missed anything, let me know. If there's anything you took out of it that I didn't quite discuss, feel free to let me know in the comments. This video's already gone long enough, so I'm going to wrap it up here. I think I've talked about most of the points I can think of. So guys, let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know who you want to see next, because I haven't really planned who else I'm going to do yet. So I might do a Darth Vader one or something, I'm not sure yet, but let me know what you think, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later.
May the Force be with you, always.
The Sith are all powerful.